Welcome to the after show. What's up? Welcome back to Puck Nation, episode 33, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, sir.
33. Boys, you good? Everybody good?
Doing good, man.
Yeah? Everything's all right? Everything's all right?
Yeah.
So, first and foremost, before we even get started, I want to say thank you to Chris Nyland for our previous show. That was awesome. We got so many great comments, so many great reviews on it. And, oh, man, the stories.
The stories were crazy,
They're
man.
just crazy. I mean, it just goes to show you the difference between,
Yeah, exactly.
It's unbelievable. And hockey at that time,
yeah,
it was just... What a different
era. Different everything,
man. It was incredible. So today we figured we'd try something newer, right?
That's
I have
right.
a special guest today, a former Hab, a former Montreal Canadian,
Yes,
an ex-goalie. He was a goalie, right? That came here to Montreal.
It's been a long time coming.
And we've been trying to get Michael on for a long time, right? Michael McNiven, right?
Yeah.
Yianni, do your thing. Get him on. Get him on. Do your thing.
What's up, Michael?
Michael, what's up, buddy?
Guys?
You
Thank
good?
you for having me. Yeah, you?
Yeah, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for... I know... Where are you? In France now? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Gap, France, in
Okay.
the beginning of the Alps, so it's a very beautiful spot here. It's
Yeah, no
really
shit.
nice. I love it so far.
Oh, that's great,
That's
man.
awesome.
That's great.
Good for
So
you, man.
6 o'clock there, 12 o'clock here, right?
6
Yeah,
hours.
as you can see in the
6
background, we got some sunlight. We
Yeah,
never have
yeah,
sunlight
yeah.
when we're recording. So
Yeah.
So, Michael, we'll kick it off right away. Hockey in France. What's up? How is it?
You know what? It was a lot of people talk it down, and I feel like that's not it at all. I think it's very competitive. It's professional hockey here. It's very competitive still, and you have a lot of quite a few, especially Quebecois, coming over here. Pat maybe played a few NHL games and everything, and yeah, it's still very competitive, still fun. Great group of guys where I am now, so I'm loving it so far.
That's great,
That's
man.
awesome.
That's great.
Awesome.
And you guys play on the bigger sheet, right?
Yeah.
It's a little-
It's a lot bigger. Well,
It's
it
a
looks
lot bigger.
Yeah, it looks a lot bigger for me.
how's that for a goalie?
Like I told most of the guys, like there is a lot more like grade A chances against and stuff like that, but it's just because there's so much ice to work with. But then on the other hand, I got so much more time to react to those shots, so it just makes up for it, and it's a nice easy balance.
It's funny, there's a pretty loud lobby here just in the NHL to say that if they went to international ice, it would fix like 90% of the problems in the league. I don't know. Since you're actually playing on international ice, what do you think? Like, do you think that would be something North America should look at?
Well, definitely, like there's a lot less hitting. The only hits you really see are close to the boards and stuff like that. Like I think maybe from what I saw, there was only 3 or 4 hits my first game here, and the big ice makes it a lot easier for players to move. The puck moves a lot more than North America. Maybe not as fast. It's more of like a bit more smarter playing, I'd say. Against the team that I played against so far, Sergei. So I'm assuming it's the same until you get against those more experienced teams that have more experienced players.
Wow. So that's the speed obviously is a major factor. Can you imagine a McDavid on an ice like that?
Jesus
Are you kidding me? You'd
No
have to
one
call
will
the
catch
cops
him.
to get him. Yeah. You're crazy. I mean, he does it here. The guy dekes himself out of a
Must
phone
be
booth.
insane.
Are you kidding me? If he had that kind of ice? But I don't think they'll ever, that's just my opinion, I don't think they'll ever do that here because you'll have to rearrange all the rinks,
To get rid of a lot of seats.
get rid of a lot of seats, and all the Benjamins wouldn't come in, so they'd start freaking out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But-
no, I agree with that too. I don't
Yeah.
think they'll see that, but maybe for
doubt it.
injury standpoints, like head concussions with hits and stuff like that, I could see it definitely making it a lot easier on the players. And, I don't know how it would affect them, like stamina wise and stuff, but probably takes them a while to get used to. I'm sure it does.
I'm actually just because you mentioned that. Actually, this is actually referring to the previous episode that we just had with Chris. We talked about that. The injuries, the concussions of this, and like what's one thing he would do if he was in charge of the league. And he said bringing the red line back. Now,
Michael, did you ever play with a red line? No. You're 26, right?
Well, there's you mean like 2-line offside pass? kind
Yeah,
of thing?
yeah.
No, I never played with
No,
that ever.
no.
because the thought process there is that all these stretch passes and all these this hardcore chasing of the puck on these long passes is that's a lot of the injuries end up happening as a result of that.
Yeah.
And if you would bring the red line back, not only would it create like different systems, but it might actually lessen the injuries like it used to. So to see, we see less concussions. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of the game now it's speed based. Whether it's just flicking the puck in the air 20 feet and creating a foot race, or like that for that exact reason. And there's definitely lots of injuries. Pucks in the air. Well, one guy's looking for the puck. Well, the other guy is just not even looking for the puck. He's just going.
Yeah,
going
for your
him.
head.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
for sure, yeah, and I think it would help with the those blindside hits in the middle of the ice and stuff like that. For sure, it would help. But I think it would create a slower game, and I don't think they
don't want that.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Like,
they did all that to change it to become so quick, and
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna go back to that. I mean, look, I said the same thing. I'm from a different era. I only played at red line, okay, and it was totally different. I mean, some coaches, I'm telling you, Mike, some coaches they used it as an actual player.
Well, Jacques Lemaire.
Jacques Lemaire, look,
Yeah.
they had to change the rules because of him.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? Because it was getting like boring, and then they were freaking out. All right, Michael, I wanted to ask you something. You didn't go drafted, man. Nobody drafted, and you made it to the National Hockey, dude. That is something you should be proud of.
Yeah, no, it was a journey. It was fun. I went to the draft. My whole family went to the draft. I was supposed to be a high draft pick, and my coach at the time, I guess he wasn't a favorite of me because most of the feedback from the teams was that I was overweight, and it came from him. So,
Oh, that's
Really?
it worked
Why
out
would
for
they
me in
do
the end.
that?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
My
He got
God, why
he
would-
got let go shortly after on our junior team, so he didn't.
What a
Was that
jerk.
in Owen Sound with?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would
there
anybody
was,
do that?
I don't know. Just protect
It just
himself,
happens,
maybe.
I guess.
Protect himself. You're shitting on one of your players. That doesn't say much about you.
Yeah.
What?
No,
what?
I think it wasn't just me either. There was a few players that weren't too happy with him that year, and he was let go shortly after. So,
So there you go.
Well, now that we're talking about Owen Sound, you played with Nick Suzuki.
yep. Yeah, I played two years, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
Oh,
2 years.
three, maybe three.
Three
years.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All my whole. Because I didn't play my first year until my. Oh no, you're right too. Because he's 2 years younger. I was thinking he's only a year, only 2 years. But
It's crazy
'cause
how
I didn't
young
play
you
my
guys
first
are.
year. I didn't play my first year, so I missed out that. And I went home to play junior A, which was a blast because I grew up watching them every weekend, and my grandfather, who I grew up with, was very, very in with the team, like kind of
Nice.
assistant equipment manager kind of guy. So
Wow.
I was always at those games, and it was good for 1 year to be at home and enjoy that.
So what was the path, Michael? What was like? How did the Habs come calling?
Well, after the draft, I went back to the hotel with my agent, sat down, kind of planned a few things. I actually had a development camp with Columbus that I had already agreed to go with, and then like right after the draft, and then Montreal called and they gave a really good explanation. They said they were signing someone that year. They didn't know who, like whoever came to camp ready, I suppose. And I ended up going to development camp in Montreal instead. And they told me, go home, lose 10 pounds, come back in a bit better shape, and we'll see how it goes, kind of thing.
It's crazy.
I did what they said, and I played my rookie tournament. I played very well in my first game as a team. It was a fun game. We played the Leafs, and can't remember quite. I think Marner was there and Nylander. I'm not sure who else was there, but it was a good game. We ended up winning, and that I think Toronto should have won that game. They outshot us like 50-25 or something like that.
Jesus.
And
Wow.
I kind of had the game of my life kind of thing at the time. So
Yeah, no
you
kidding.
know, I actually Sylvain Lefebvre. I was going to
Yeah.
pick up sushi for me and Fukali at camp, and Sylvain came up to me and he congratulated me, but I hadn't signed yet, and I had no clue that I was signing. I had no
Oh,
idea.
wow.
And he came up to me, shook my hand, said congratulations. I said for what? He's like,
Oh,
you
man.
didn't hear?
Oh, shit.
No, and he just walked away, didn't say another word.
He's
just
like, oh shit.
grabbed and walked away.
Ah,
I
but
remember it
Michael,
was
how does that feel though? I mean, you're with Montreal, but you know what's ahead of you, right? I mean, Carey was there, right?
Yeah,
And-
no, that was special. I got to work with him, which was awesome.
Oh, really?
How was that?
How was that? How was that?
Well, at every camp, I always got a little bit of time with him, and some scrimmages, it was me and him, goalie partners. So, to be able to watch him, still being healthy and playing at the top of the game, it was definitely a learning experience. It's hard to take his steps from the game away and like try and put in your own game. It's very hard because he's just
Well,
that
you're all
good.
individuals, right? I mean, it's always different for everybody,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
You can't be
Yeah.
him or that. But man, like you said, a teacher like that, how do you go wrong, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I'm assuming you also got to work with Stefan Waite at the time, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
I got to work with him at every camp, and whenever I was called up, I got to work with him. He's kind of a more quiet guy, and I feel like he's the kind of coach that has his own bread and butter, and he doesn't change it. Like he stays to the same thing. So every morning skate was like this, almost the same morning skate, and it
Oh,
was
is that
like,
right?
yeah, and I think Carey kind of liked that stuff too. So I think they kind of, they kept it kind of straightforward, and not many games did Carey play bad. So I don't think don't what's the saying?
ain't broke,
Don't
But
fix
it's
it if it ain't broke. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't fix it if it ain't
exactly.
broke.
So
I mean,
I think that's
yeah,
kind of how they did it.
if it works, it works, right? You don't mess with it.
So I watched you a lot when you were in the Rocket because I'm a Laval guy. So
Okay.
I got to see you.
Season ticket holder.
I was.
Yeah.
I used to watch the development, and I was there with my wife, and she kept telling me like, I see a lot of Carey Price in this kid. Like, I think you modeled your game a lot after him, didn't you?
Definitely when I moved to Laval, they really, straightened me out a little bit. I was very raw as a junior goalie, never had a goalie coach, and I love my goalie coach in Owen Sound, but he was older and he was, more about just stopping the puck, and if I stopped the puck, he was happy kind of thing. And to come to Laval and Montreal, they really changed everything about me, and I think for almost every goalie, they try and mold them into Carey Price, but it's hard to be that goalie.
Well, yeah. That's what they do, right?
He's one of
They
a
take the
kind.
best, and everybody wants to be that. Just like when you build a team. Well, St. Louis won this year. Let's build a team like St. Louis. The Kings won. Let's build a team like the Kings. It's
Yeah.
copycat,
Yeah.
right? Michael,
Yeah.
I had a couple of friends on a couple of weeks ago. Both of them goalies, guys that I play with, and guys that are like, what's the terminology? Guys that when the NHL goalies get hurt for practice, they get in there just in case.
Like an emergency
the
backup.
Emergency guys.
Yeah, e-bug, or they call it an e-bug.
Yeah, something like that. That's right. So both of these guys, Glenn and Brian, that's what they used to do, whatever. And I told them straight off the bat, and I think I told you two off the air, goalie. What the hell possesses you to become a goalie? You got to be nuts. I mean, I told them, I'm going to tell you, you guys are missing a screw, man. You're not all there. What the hell?
No, everyone's different. Like I said off air too, I feel like I am normal compared to a lot of them. But yeah,
Jesus.
some of them I even shake my head at, and I'm like, not it's the
Superstitions.
stuff they
And,
do. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
like a
crazy.
flower.
Yeah.
Turns
some of
around,
them-
talks to the post. Dude, somebody should tell him it doesn't speak. It
Did you
doesn't
hear them
answer back,
talking?
dude.
Did you hear them talking when you were there?
No, they don't talk back to me.
I mean,
They might talk back to him though. I don't know.
Glenn said, he says, like, you guys, like us, player guys, you guys have that thing where, I want to roof one or I want to score a goal. But you guys, it's the complete opposite. You're like, you're not going to score on
Robbery.
me, right? It's like,
Yeah.
is that basically that what attracted to the position?
Yeah. Well, for me, my dad was a goalie, and
There you go.
not that I watched him and was like, I wanted to be a goalie. It was just like, my dad obviously wanted to try it with me, and my
That's cool.
grandfather, of course, too. So I tried it, and I just loved it. Like,
It's amazing.
1 year I went from like a select team player when I was 7, and when I Like I tried goalie that summer on a summer team with the. We actually had a very good summer team back in that day, then where I was still playing with Marner and Strome and
Oh
you
wow.
know Jeremy Bracco, players like that that were really good growing up, and I loved it. And the AAA team ended up needing another goalie. It was the coach's son was the goalie, and the league said, "Well, you can't go with just one goalie. You need another goalie."
They
So
take you.
a friend went to the tryouts, and he mentioned me, and I went out, and the coach was like, "Well, if you want to be on my
Incredible.
team, you're more than welcome to." And from
Wow.
that point on, I just
That's
took off,
awesome.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, speaking of the position, like, so you know, I'm sure you've heard this 10,000 times. It's in the media, everything, where they go like, "He's not a starter," or so and so is a starter, and like, I'm wondering what, from the player's perspective, from the goalie's perspective, like, what determines I'm a starter, I'm a backup? Are any goalies actually happy being backups and just content with that role, or are they all want to be starters and think that whole philosophy is full of shit? Like, basically, I'm kind of curious because we only ever hear the media perspective on that.
Yeah, I think for me, my whole life I was a starter. Whether it was my last year before junior, my first year in Georgetown when I got to go home and play junior A, I was a starter. My first year in the OHL, I probably could have played a bit more. I didn't play that much, but I was a rookie, and the coach there, the one I talked about earlier, he didn't like younger guys. So, I mean, I played enough to get drafted. Maybe if I played a bit more, I may have actually been selected. But no, I don't think. I think everyone wants to be a starter. I think you need to give them a chance, obviously in pro, and at one point, they're just going to say he can't play consistent enough, more or less, to play 50, 60, and the likes of Gary, 70, 80 games a year.
Yeah, well, look at Marty Brodeur. He used to hit 80,
Yeah.
and Grant Fury hit 70, 75 games, and now they don't even make you play back-to-back anymore.
Yeah, well, now it seems like a lot of the teams are going with like a 50-50 approach. I mean, there are obviously the certain starters like the Bobrovskys and the guys
But
like
even
that.
him, he won't play 70 games.
No, Hellebuck. But on the overall, though, I'm noticing more and more of like a split now, kind of like in the old days with Mike Richter and John Van Beesbrook, like that same type of idea. You're seeing Jake Allen and in St. Louis with Binnington on that year. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like there are not too many goalies doing huge amount of games anymore.
But Michael, here's my thing, okay? If you're only going to play, like in those days, 10, 12 games,
Yeah.
I mean, how much, how much can you give to the team? You only played 12 games.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
so
I
maybe
think
it is
that's
better to
more-
do the 50-50 thing.
Yeah, or it's more of like a veteran role too. I mean, I think the best way to do it is that 50-50 way, especially
Yeah.
if you have two very good goalies. Like I don't feel for me, if I was a GM or a coach, like I would want all my players going. You get lucky with the odd carry that can play 60, 70 games at that caliber, but the game is so fast now. So many goalie injuries this year. Like I was in
Yeah.
Savannah for a good 2 months, and all the Vegas goalies are all injured. Even the younger
Shit.
ones,
That's
down
crazy.
low, they're all having problems. So I mean, it's tough now. The game's so fast. The body. How much can the body really handle? Like,
So you need the rest, is what you're saying, right?
yeah, 100%. And
You need a day off, and you need the doctor day, and you have to go get your massages, and you have to heal. You have to heal.
Well,
The
that's
body
what
has to heal.
Gary had. He had
Yeah.
every other day. He had a
Yeah.
therapy day,
Heal day. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but he needs it when he's playing that much hockey, and the games are every other day in the NHL. He needs that rest to be able to compete at his level.
Yeah, that level was
the best.
insane.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Okay, Michael, I have to ask you something. The Montreal thing. This is crazy. So the Shea Weber thing that we were talking about. How the hell you decide to stop the puck? Shea Weber exploded your mask, dude. Were you okay with that? Or
Is your head still hurt?
are you still spinning? What's going on?
Yeah. So I still have the scar
Come on.
there. Yeah.
I was joking. Are you serious?
Yeah. I had 10 stitches.
Oh my! I was just fucking.
That's
around.
wild.
No. I went
Holy
right
sh-
through my mask, and
I hope you bought your house.
he just said sorry. Unfortunately, I I thought I was gonna get something, but nothing
Yeah.
ended up coming.
Oh
And,
my
but
God.
it is what it is, and it's part of the job. I mean, I think the way he did it, it could have been. He could have took it
Jesus.
from a bit further back because if you watch the video, he's at the
Yeah.
top of the circle almost,
Yeah.
skating into it like it's the hardest slap shot competition. But
Oh my
um,
God.
you know, it is what it is. It happened. The head rang for a bit, but I went and got stitches right away in the trainer's room, and thank God that was the end of practice, so I didn't have to go back out. But I'm sure if practice was still going, I would have put my helmet back on and would have asked for a new cage at least, and I would have went back out.
That's crazy.
I got to imagine though, and I know you're stopping $100 a day and everything, but that particular one that must have been terrifying. Like
It was scary.
I would have left town.
I dropped to the ground like I got shot there was a sniper in the
Yeah.
stands. I didn't know. I didn't know if I lost my eye. I didn't know what
Oh
it was.
my
Because
God.
crazy.
I could see blood going on the ice, but I had no clue. I didn't know if it was my mouth. And, my whole head was ringing, so I couldn't tell if it was my cheek or what it was. But it was, it was what it was. And like I said, I got the stitches, and that was it. He did check up on me for the next few days. He would send me a text at night asking me how I was doing. Making sure I was okay.
Well, they say he's a class
he-
act, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Team
No,
cap.
he was awesome, and it is what it is, and it happens.
That's crazy, man. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
So we were talking about how different goalies have their what do you call it,
The
the
superstitions.
superstitions.
Rituals.
Do you have superstitions?
Nothing crazy. I mean, I go about my days the same every day. Like,
Okay.
I don't really do anything crazy, but the way I plan out my practice days and my game days, it's always the same.
Okay.
I have my own like OCD and stuff like that. So if I do miss something, it does make my brain like, I do kind of go in a panic sometimes. But for the most part, I'm pretty much
Yeah.
on top of my
No, for
stuff.
sure.
I don't really have anything
Yeah.
other than pregame rituals. Just praying before the game, and that's about it.
That's
Gotcha.
great.
There you
Michael,
go.
who was your guy growing up? Like, who was your, like you said, this is the style, this is the look, this is the whatever. When we're all kids, we all want to be, Carey Price or whatever. Who was your guy?
I had a few. I went through a few eras. I was lucky enough to see Ed Belfour a little bit when he was in Toronto. So starting out very young was Ed Belfour, and as I got older, and Ray Emery came in the league, and
Yeah. Oh my God. Wow.
probably like 4 to 7, I was Ed Belfour, and then I'd say around 8 to 13, 14 years old, I was a Ray Emery fan, big Ray Emery fan.
Wow. Wow.
Wow,
I would
that's
switch
awesome.
a little bit to Jonathan Quick too. I love Jonathan Quick. I thought, the run he had for those 5 years was pretty amazing. He was a very exciting goalie to watch, and it kind of reminded me a bit of the old style a little bit, not Dominic Hasek style, but a mix of
A
the
little
old
bit
style.
unorthodox. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got moved from Montreal to Calgary, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I got moved.
And then you went to Ottawa, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And were the chances there also? And
Well, with the media at that time in Montreal, I was just tired of them asking me to do stuff, me doing it, and then not getting any thing in return. And
that's what it is here.
yeah, so I got tired of that, and I was not happy to leave because I loved Montreal. I lived there still. I've lived there for 7 years now since I turned pro. My daughter's from there. I love it there, but it was just the politics and stuff. It was,
Yeah.
I had
Living
enough of
here
it.
and playing here. We said it on the last or whatever podcast it was.
Chris.
They say in sports, there's the 3 toughest positions in sport. That's being center forward for Manchester United. That's being the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and that's being you,
The
goalie of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah,
And I'm telling you, man, that's got to be the. I mean, you lived it. You just said it yourself.
yeah. No, I
That's
think I
nuts.
agree. I totally agree. And I mean, you got to have a special guy like Carey to take on that role. I think.
Is it really that tough, Michael?
Honestly, for me, I really didn't pay into it. But I mean, when you're as good as Carey and you set the standard that high, I'm sure it's not easy for him.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has a tough time sometimes, and I'm sure,
for sure.
it does get to him a little bit. But he handled it like a pro, and he was the best at it. So I mean, if anyone can learn from him, that's who they should be learning from.
Incredible.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, like this is a team that has a storied history at that position specifically, right?
okay.
Whether it's Patrick Roy, Ken Dryden,
Oh,
even
Jacques Plante,
and even if you wanted to more recent, like Jose Theodore, like all of these guys, and
They get scrutinized after that.
I think now is one of the only times I can remember where they're doing kind of a goaltending by committee philosophy. Although Montembeault has seemed to set himself apart from the other guys a little bit. And I'll be the first one to say on this podcast, we all doubted him.
Yeah, we
doubted him, 100%.
Speaking for myself, I did too. I
And
said there's no way.
He's definitely done a lot to prove himself
Shut me
this
up.
year. So I do think that ultimately he's becoming the starter. But I think even though he's good, he's not. Like, this is the first time in a long time that Montreal doesn't have an absolutely elite goaltender.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I think now this new philosophy, this new management, this new league, this new everything, it's a different thing. Like, we don't have a Hellebuck here. We don't have a Bobrovsky here, a Vasilevsky, like none of that. So it's kind of a different, they're kind of doing a different thing now. So do you think that that's kind of a philosophy that's going more in the league, like less like super goaltenders and more like kind of break up the work amongst a few guys?
I think that for the situation right now with Primo, I think that's why they're doing that situation. Obviously being scared that, if it's not for his play, I'm sure his dad has a few teams
big
on the
say.
phone.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that like when people call for waivers, if he were to get sent down, I'm sure,
He'll get
his
picked up
dad
for
has
sure.
friends. Yeah,
Of course.
that's just the way it is. So I think they got to be careful of that, and it is kind of tough because those guys need to play. Primo and Montembeault, they need to play. They're young. They need to get the experience. But then you have Jake Allen, who's a very solid backup, does his job very well, and you know what? It's not an easy team to play on right now. It's tough. They're all young. I think 3-4 years down the road, the team should be pretty amazing, especially with a couple
totally
more
agree.
picks coming in here within the next year or two.
I totally agree. Yeah.
High picks, it's going to be a good roster in a few years. Not that
think so,
they're good right now too, but they're just so young, and experience will go a long way once they all have that.
Do you agree with that 3 goalie thing though, Michael? Because a lot,
I don't
there's like
like
three, 14. Well, because that's why I'm asking, because you're the goalie. Because they're saying, they were actually talking about making one of the like not count towards
salary,
towards the roster. You know what I mean? Like having a guy, because just in case, so the David Aries thing doesn't happen again, and the Leafs lose to a Zamboni driver again.
Well, for sure, it's definitely a possibility. But the thing is how are you going to find a goalie for that? No goalie's going to.
No one's going to stick around, right?
You're gonna have to pay some money.
Yeah.
To do that.
To just sit around and say, listen, I want to play, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know who would want to do that in their right mind. But a lot of teams are doing it. A lot of teams.
Yeah, there's like 3-4 teams. Yeah. Yeah, there's like 3-4 teams
a lot
this
of
year.
goalies, and that's just the way it is. But I think it's just because of the team situations at the time, and I'm sure when they have the experience that they want those guys to have, like Primo and Montembeault, I'm sure it'll flush out. And Laval's not far. Laval's 20 minutes away from downtown, and
so that makes it worthwhile too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're all rooting for Primo. I mean, look, like Yianni's a Habs fan,
Big
right?
Habs
Actually,
fan.
as you can see behind each of us, it kind of shows the
Ken
teams
Dryden,
we're into.
yeah.
So I'm an Oilers fan. Mimo's a Leafs fan. We won't hold it against him too much.
You shouldn't, Mike. I hold that against myself. I don't need you to do that for me.
But Primo's a good kid, and we would like to see him because he had so much hype around him for a long time, and it's like we're hoping he gets to where he needs to get. But like the hot goalie kid now that everyone's talking is the kid they just drafted,
Fowler.
Fowler kid.
Right?
Yeah,
He
but it
seems
was
to
the same thing with Fucali. It was the same thing with Lindgren.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with me.
Yeah.
Well,
It was
that's
same
the thing.
The same thing with
That was the question coming.
Right, though. That's where I was going with that.
That's just
And then-
Montreal, too.
Yeah, I
the
know.
point.
They're always looking for the next Patrick Roy. I get it, but it's kind of But then you look at guys like you mentioned Lindgren. He's having a second life in Washington right now,
Getting hammered every night, but yeah.
but he's been playing really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that last game after the break there. He probably wanted that one back, but you know, they probably all had fun on the break, and it's gonna take another game, 2 or 3 to get back into it again.
Well,
Yeah.
they beat Boston last night, right?
They did.
Did they?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael, are we going to see you back in the NHL?
I would love to. I think I had some family stuff to sort out a couple years ago when on my last year of the deal there, and I left my season early. Um, I had to take care of that, and then I had some stuff on the table, but I was looking at more in Europe, and it was just kind of too late at the time. And I had a deal that I didn't take that I should have. Like, that I say that now, but it was an AHL contract, and I thought I still deserved a shot with an NHL deal, and I thought I'd wait out my time, and it just didn't work out. And then I had my injury last year, so it's been tough for me to get games this year because teams, as much as I thought they wouldn't be scared about injuries and stuff like that anymore, they still are. And I had to wait at home again this season to get a team in the East Coast League, and
I remember we were talking when all that was happening.
yeah, I was sitting at home and everyone was playing, and I finally got to a place, and I think for that reason, and that's why I'm in Gap now, is that they seen that I'm healthy. I played 10 games or 12 games, whatever it was, and still showing that I can play, and they're taking a chance on me here, and we have to stop relegation, where Gap is in for relegation this year because they do it like soccer here in Europe, right?
Yeah.
So there's, the
Yeah.
Magnus, and then first league, second league, third league, and they're up for relegation this year. So we need to make sure that doesn't happen. And I love the challenge ahead, and I think I want to be back, but I think it may be one of those, if I can make my way to the KHL at some point, that a team may look at me 30, 31, 32 years old, and a few goalies have been brought back over like that over the last 10 years. So that's my idea behind it if I do ever return back.
Well, we would love to see that.
Oh man, that'd be great.
As an Edmonton Oilers fan, we need the help, man.
Yeah, Mike, give them a call.
Give Ken Holland a shout, man.
Talk to your agent, man. Say, listen, Kenny Holland.
So, I'd like to play with Connor McDavid. Win a couple of cups or something. Because
Dude.
yeah.
What did you guys use last night? That little cardboard thing with the 5 holes in the net.
No
That's what you guys used
disrespect.
last night.
No disrespect to Skinner, but you know what I mean. It's just honestly that's kind of like a gaping hole in that team, and I feel like they're literally a great goalie away from being a multi-cup winning team.
For sure.
So
for sure,
you should consider it, man.
It's not really his
Looking
choice.
for an agent, Michael? Mike's pretty good. He's got some contacts.
No,
Listen,
I
we're
would love
Italian. We can make shit happen, man. All right? Careful. We can make shit happen out here. Careful. Oh my God. No, it would be nice. I mean, look, again, like I said to you before, undrafted and you got there. That's insane. I mean, when I was growing up, there was guys like Adam Oates and stuff like that they got seen in college, and like nobody drafted him. It was like, come here and look.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. So you were saying Calgary, nobody gave you the shot. Same thing in Ottawa. Nobody gave you that shot.
Yeah, Calgary was when I think, my agent kind of helped out with that, I think, to get me there, just to get me out of Montreal. They had a really good team that year. They had Wolf, and they had Warren, I think his last name was. He was with Colorado before them. And, he was kind of on the fence. They said, like, this is our guy for now, but he's not playing too well, so you could play your way in possibly. But they were making a big run in the playoffs that year, and they wanted depth. So I kind of went there as a depth piece, like same kind of thing that Montreal is doing right now, third goalie. And and then at the deadline, I was in the gym in Stockton, and it was about 5:00, and the deadline's done at around 12, right? So I thought, I'm safe. I'm not going anywhere. Not that I really even thought I would go anywhere. Spoke too soon. Coach called me in the office.
Off to
We had
Ottawa.
a trade pending. You're going to Ottawa, and that was mid-COVID. So to wait for my visa and everything, it took like 2 weeks. So when I got traded, I sat at home for 2 weeks. Like didn't go on the ice, didn't go in the gym because nothing was open. Like
you couldn't. You couldn't exactly.
And by the time I got my visa, I went there. It was a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe max before the deadline. And I ended up getting traded back home pretty much. So away I went on the flight again and back home. I think I flew into Montreal because Belleville was playing Laval. That was my first game the first night. So I flew back home and picked up my truck and drove to my old rink.
Yeah.
suited up, and
That's crazy.
Mandalese was hurt, I think, at that point, and he was out for the rest of the year. And yeah, no, it's a good time there. I love Belleville too. It's a nice little spot, and
Nice.
Been
we
there.
had some good goalies there too. Lots of good goalies in that organization.
That's amazing.
I actually had went to watch Laval play Belleville in Belleville.
Belleville.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Michael, anybody that you play with now that you're like, this kid doesn't belong here, man. He's got to be in the NHL.
In Gap, you mean, or
Yeah,
in,
in France.
Well, even in the
Or
ECHL.
anywhere, even when you were playing with Belleville or whatever.
You know what? Honestly, it's a big gap.
It is.
From the NHL, yeah, especially East Coast League in here. I got a chance to play with that Vikman in Savannah. I think he's a second round pick to Vegas. They're loaded with goalies. They have Seville, that's the starter in the A. I think he's played a few NHL games this year. He's amazing. This Vikman kid, the first game he came in and he stood on his head in Savannah, he was amazing too by the looks of it. But like I said, they're all injured. So Vikman, that was his first game of the season because he got injured in camp, I think. And, Savelle's been up and down. But from a player standpoint, it's a big jump. It's a very, very big jump. There's one defenseman in Savannah that was on an NHL contract, and that was the only one. Okay. So, I mean, here, our oldest player, he's the leading point scorer. He's pretty good, but the NHL is definitely a special league, and you got to be a special player to be there. So I don't believe in anyone really. I think if they should be there, I think they would be there. So
yeah. See, the reason I asked that is because not you're in France, and I'm thinking I just asked you if you're going to come back to the NHL if the chance was there. But is there anybody looking there? Because if no one looks there, if the scouts are not there, then you don't stand a chance. Correct?
Yeah, correct. And I don't think there's any scouts in France.
Really?
Yeah.
Not
really.
even for the Canadians who,
Well, for sure they're all in contact. I know when I signed here, the coaches would call me and said, "Oh, we talked to Eric Raymond, or we talked to Dominic Ducharme, or whoever," and they talked highly of me, which is very nice, and I'm sure it helped push them, bring me in there, but. Maybe Montreal does, but I don't think too often they're really. I think it's more the other way around, like trying to send their past players to France, kind of thing, because of that French connection.
Is that right?
The French connection.
Go ahead, man. Oh, yeah. I thought it was you.
Yeah, no. So basically, Kent Hughes was a player agent, right? So I feel like now, like you were in Montreal at a different time, under a different regime, different coach, different everything. It seems like the entire organization, head to toe, now is totally retooled. And so it's almost like I just wonder. I know you don't have a crystal ball or anything, but do you feel that under the new philosophy, the Marty St. Louis type of coaching, the Kent Hughes way of looking at players and evaluating, do you think maybe this is a system where you could have thrived more and had more of an opportunity?
I definitely think I could have had a more of an opportunity for sure. I think for sure.
Bergie.
Yeah, the city and the province of Quebec definitely holds high on a lot of players who's going to play and who's not. I remember my last year in Laval. Pizzetta started unbelievably in Laval. I think he had like 5 points in 2 or 3 games, and the fans were saying we want Pizzetta to come up to Montreal, and sure enough, what he deserved it. He played his way in there. He's one of the toughest guys I've ever played with, and he deserved every bit of it, and I'm happy for that guy too, because he was kind of more of a power forward kind of guy, strong, not afraid of anything. So for a guy like that to come in and do what he did and what he's doing now, it's he works hard. He's one of the hardest workers I've ever met.
Yeah, well, it definitely seems like the new regime has like a much more youth-focused view, and they really want to build from the ground up. I mean, just last week they moved Monahan for another pick. I mean, they're amassing draft picks at a crazy rate. And I said this on the previous episode. I've been a longtime Habs viewer, whether I'm an Oilers fan or not, and I can tell you that this is the first time I've seen an actual rebuild in place. Not a quote-unquote rebuild where the French press is dictating things and all these other matters, So it almost seems like if I'm a young player within that system, like now's the time. Just looking at their blue line, it's like it's unbelievable.
ridiculous.
They have probably the best junior blue line. I think they'll have the most dominant blue line in the NHL in the next 3 years.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're for sure. They're stacking up, and I think he's doing it the right way. I think Kent Hughes, he's done a great job there, acquiring all those picks. You know, bringing in the players he has and turn them over for more picks. You know, I think. I think there could be possibly trades too, like some of the guys that maybe they don't think will stay there long, that are high value players right now, could possibly be turnarounds too, and mixed with some of those picks for, better players, more experienced players, and, who knows what they're going to do, but, like I said, in 2 or 3 years time, that's when it's going to be the time to do so, and to really make the team a playoff contending team.
I think they're gonna look pretty good, man. In a couple of years, if you can make it all stick together, because that's the challenge for these guys, right?
Yeah, look at Toronto.
Well, Yianni, that's a different story. What do you want me to look at, Yianni? What do you want me to look at?
You're paying everybody
1967?
$14 million and
Well,
$16
that's what
million
it is.
each.
Well, there you go. There you go. And then we don't have no D. No shit, Sherlock. You have no money to pay the D.
But I want to just touch really quick before we get into Leaf bashing, because we do that every episode. That has to happen at least for 5 minutes. It's mandatory. But just to say quickly, because we were talking about the different systems with Bergevin now, I think let's look at Jonathan Drouin for a minute.
You look at him.
He got 30 points.
30 points. We'll explain that to you in a second. But the point is what you're seeing, and yes, I understand he's playing with Nathan McKinnon. It's a different world. But the reality is he couldn't get arrested here. He couldn't get anything going. And then he goes to Colorado, and he's having at least somewhat of a rejuvenation. And you have to ask yourself,
Different style.
it's just a different style, but it's a different system. It's a different, Joe Sakic, I believe the fish either stinks or smells great from the head down. And it's like a guy like Joe Sakic that's such a great hockey mind and such a gentleman with class. The players, the coaches, everyone's going to want to play for that guy.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And it's just the whole organization. It's a philosophical thing from the top down. And I feel like Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes have instituted that here now.
Yeah.
And there used to be so many players, I'm sure you can attest to this from private conversations, didn't want to play in Montreal. They're like, screw that, forget that, And I feel like now maybe it becomes attractive again because of the new direction, the new management, the new coaching, et cetera, et cetera.
I think so. Yeah. I think honestly, everyone wants money nowadays, and I'm sorry, but Monsieur Legault needs to change the tax. The tax is incredible there.
It's retarded.
It's ridiculous.
It's stupid, is what it is.
That's why players won't come, and then you have guys.
Of course, it deters people. Of course,
They sign
it's
in
been
Tampa,
happening since we were kids. Yeah,
and then they get their full.
and
they
L.A.,
get their full
Tampa,
Dallas.
Yeah. It's a totally different thing. Look what's happening with what's his name in Toronto. Look what's happening with Tavares.
Yeah.
That's funny.
With tax shit, right? No, it's
He's,
not funny. It's sad,
he's
actually.
fighting for tax money back. Anyways.
Whatever. All right, Michael. Look,
Yeah,
it's almost
not
time to
enough
go. Yeah, like he doesn't have.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
probably stuck in the lint in
Before-
his jeans.
before we,
I don't want to ask him. Yeah, go ahead.
So, do you still keep in touch with a lot of these guys that you played with in Laval, Montreal?
You know what? Honestly, not really. I mean, I was kind of, on my own. I was, I was an only child, so I'm very, on my own. I mean, I'm close with them. I'm sure if I shot them a text, we'd go sit down, have a drink,
Okay.
That's
and,
awesome.
have a meal. But,
That's awesome.
for the most part, it's tough. We're in different places.
Obviously.
Being in Montreal, it was easy. It was easy to talk
Yeah.
to Nick or, all those guys. But when you move on and you don't end up seeing those guys as much because most of them, they go home in the summer, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah, of course.
even
For
if
sure.
I do live in Montreal, I don't get the opportunity to, spend as much time with them as I did when I was playing there. So that's kind of tough, but, I'm sure all of them, I reach out to all of them still, even guys like Victor Mete, I still
Yeah.
talk to him here and there.
And Zach
Right.
Fucali?
Zach Fucali. I always see him around. We're always, playing in the same skates, and
That's cool.
me and him seem to be like the 1-2 goalie that do the most skates in Quebec. I feel like me and him are just
That's awesome.
everywhere. And,
That's good to hear.
His league too. He had me there before, and Fucali is one of the most outstanding guys I've ever met in my
That's
career,
awesome.
especially with what he went through in Montreal,
Yeah.
and what he had to do to
tough.
overcome and put himself back on the map. He just kept digging and digging and digging away, and it's something that I found tough for myself. So for him to be able to do that and play himself back in was amazing, and I was very happy for him when he got that opportunity.
Can't be easy, man. It can't be easy. Michael, before we let you go, who do you got for Super Bowl?
Chiefs.
Oh, man.
The script says the Chiefs.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. It's something about that guy bothers me, man.
Mahomes.
You don't like him? I love him. I think he's awesome.
I think his arrogance, just and the fact that I'm a Bills fan, I have been since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Don't I know I'll pick him? Look, the Leafs behind me, the Bills in the NFL. What a
Okay,
scrap.
I have the Raiders and the Habs. I
should
mean,
just
it's
fucking-
not much better.
I should just quit and go start doing something else because this is not for me. Choosing
But
teams is not for me.
The Bills are good now. Like they've been good the last 2-3 years, but before that, they struggled for a long time.
21 years without seeing a playoffs.
Yeah.
21 years. So you got the Chiefs, right? Well,
Yeah.
we'll see. I hope it all works out.
Yeah,
Mike,
I don't think
next-
I'll be able to watch it. It'll be late. It'll be.
Well, yeah, because it's 6
12:30 for
o'clock
me.
here. Yeah, it's like midnight for you, man.
Well,
hey, man.
Next time you're in town, we'll do something. We'll grab a beer, whatever you
That'd
want.
be awesome, man.
Yeah, we'd love
That'd
to
be
have you.
awesome.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much for doing this, man. Like I tell everybody, look, I know we're just a bunch of guys that, we're nobodies, and you agreed to do this. Thank you so much. I wish you all the luck in the world, man. Again, an undrafted player who makes it to the NHL. You got something, man. You got something. Power to you. I hope fucking you get the world, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Don't forget to call Ken
problem.
Holland.
And call Kenny
Ken,
Holland.
call Ken.
Tell him we said it. Call Kenny Holland, man. Good luck, brother. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye-bye.